Okay, good morning. We are going to be doing a 2-tank replacement today over in Alto. So I'm going to try to do kind of a step-by-step. So we're going to, Lee's working on a project, Mark's on vacation, and Brock's got day off. So Kenny and Kelvin and I are going to go do that. And I'm going to kind of show you what our process is, kind of as much as I can from beginning to end. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, everything is pre-tripped. We are pulling out. The only thing that we gotta do real quick before we leave the shop is Kenny did a bunch of work for me on the excavator and stuff the last couple days. So we got a bunch of mud in the tracks. So we're gonna pull up here and scrape all the mud off the tracks so we don't get in trouble with that. And then we should be good to go. Okay, today is our first day using our 5-foot bucket. So we've got our tooth bucket on here. That's one of the things Kenny's going to be working on also, is we are building it's actually on the other side of the building. We're building a rack that'll hold my 3-foot tooth bucket, flat 3-foot bucket, and then we got like an 18-inch digging bucket. So he's working on building that, and then that way we can set it right up on here, and then we're going to build another one to where we can carry our ripper claw and our grapple and carry everything basically with us without having, you know, the thing that gets us on this one is having this well. Kind of makes it hard to carry some of these buckets. So it's nice because Brock got everything washed yesterday, and then Calvin's got the skid steer with the Harley rake, and this is what Kenny worked on yesterday. So we got a binder holder. These trailers are nice, but the wells are a little bit too shallow, and you can't fit. We'll carry usually 12 binders and 12 chains, because we'll usually, on this trailer, we could have a skid steer, a mini, and there's at least 10 chains right there, 5 on each piece of equipment. So and then we always had an issue of bringing shovels and rakes and brooms, so we've got that on there now, which now we can always sweep the trailer off before we leave, and then we've always got something in case somebody has to stay and finish a job. They've got a way to carry the tools compared to throwing it in the dump truck. So I think we're probably cleaned off and ready to go. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best, like I said, to videotape the whole process today. There's a lot of stuff that goes into a tank replacement. It seems like it'd be pretty simple, and it's not horrible, but there's a lot of things you got to think through, and every tank replacement is different. So that's one of the things, you know, I look at every single job. I want to see exactly where everything's at. Want to think through how the dirt's going to go, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's just a lot. Depends on what tank I'm going to buy. You know, if it's front yard, if they're trying to save money, all these different variables I want to talk to the homeowner about and determine, you know, what's going to be the best case for them, what's the best scenario. So weight restrictions are on. That's one of the reasons I bought this low boy. Sounds kind of goofy, but we ran into an issue last year where that weighs it's just legal on our tri-axle trailer, not total weight but axle weight, and we ran into it a lot where last year we couldn't really haul our excavator anywhere because of frost laws, so I had to pay someone else to haul it, and you know, that's not always fun. It's just one more thing you're trying to schedule. And then if you have a job take longer, or if you have a job go a little quicker, it's kind of stuck there until the date that you scheduled. So while I'm thinking of it, one of the main things that you got to think through when doing tanks is just a lot of scheduling. So tanks were already delivered yesterday. We're doing infiltrator tanks. Plumbers always does my pumping. It's a large, really nice family-owned business in Grand Rapids. So I've already got them scheduled. And then inspection scheduled for 11:30. So in our county, you want to know, every county is a little bit different, but you'll want to know what they want to see when they come inspect. So for us, we've got to have the old tanks crushed. We've got to have the old tanks crushed. We've got to have the new tanks in. We've got to have them backfilled a little bit. We've got to have all the pipes connected to the house and to the drain field. And then we've got to have the risers on, you need a fluid filter, and or the baffles. So they can come in, pull the measurements, measure off everything, make sure that everyone's different, but 50 foot away from the well, 10 foot off the foundation, all their requirements. They just want to come out, pull measurements, make sure it's all right, and then they'll document it, and then they'll send a final report to the customers saying where everything's at, what size tanks there are, and everything that was installed. Most of the counties will do that. Some of them will just give us a yellow tag saying it passed, and that's all they get. So, and then the homeowner can call the county and get a write-up of it later, but the county doesn't send it automatically. So I'm going to pull up. And then I'm going to drop the trailer, get the excavator unloaded. Kenny's driving the pickup with our cargo trailer. He's going to back in to the neighbor's property because they're actually in Florida. And then that leaves the driveway open for plumbers to show up and us not be in their way. And then Calvin's going to park on the road in front of me past the customer's driveway. And then we've got some truck crossing signs that we're going to put up. It's not that busy of a road. Maybe 20, 30 cars will go by in the next 8 hours. So we'll just do everything we can to make sure people can see us. So that's it. Just like each time, there's always something that could surprise you. So we're only about, I pulled in, we're at the spot. So Kenny's gonna back the cargo trailer in here. The tanks are going back behind that house, but we're gonna use this neighbor's driveway to park our pickup. And then that way plumbers can use the actual driveway to pump. But I'm gonna wait for Kenny, and about a half mile back, airline just broke, so they're fixing that, and then they'll be up here hopefully shortly. We've got some pretty simple rules, best practices, let's not call them rules. That's the corporate world right there. So if someone's backing in, if you're available, you always go help, because why not? You know, it was amazing how many people we'd be training, brand new guys, and two of them are both the trainers sitting in the truck, and you know, new guy's backing in, new guy backs into something because the trainer can't see. And it's like, how in the world do you have accidents when you only have two people, and one of them should be outside of the truck guiding to make sure nothing gets hit? So that's what I'm doing. We're just trying to make sure we don't want to do any damage to this person's yard or driveway or anything else. So then our other best practice. Oh, can't see me. Oh, other best practices, there's always something to be done, so you shouldn't have to wait to be told what needs to be done, but there's always something. So waiting for those guys. Got the chains all undone and ready, so all I gotta do is pull forward. So there's really always something. There's always something that can be greased. There's always something that can be done. There's something that can be picked up. You should never really have a moment where too many people are standing. Okay, so we're at our tank replacement job, and this is, I don't know if you can see it, but that is why we're here. So this tank is, customer was told a couple years ago the tank was getting kind of old. He knew that, was kind of preparing for it, but there's a 12-inch deep, maybe 15-inch deep hole right there, which is the end of the tank. So this does have risers. So whenever you do a tank replacement job, the main thing you're always trying to find is you got to find the pipe coming into the tank, the first tank, and you got to find the pipe coming out of the second tank. And then what's nice is with our Leica system, you can do it with the laser too, but you would shoot that pipe and then you come over and touch this pipe, and that will tell you what your depth is. If you have, say it's 1 foot and then you got 1 foot 8, you have 8 inches of drop on this side. So that tells you have 8 inches. So that helps you do the math on where your new tanks can go. So you can't just willy-nilly throw a tank way over here and add 10 more foot. If you add 10 more foot, you could be a couple more inches deeper than what you need to be. So when you put your 2 new tanks in, the outlet on your second tank could be deeper than your pipe going to your drain field, which obviously doesn't work. So that's always the piece to be aware of. And then, so what I would usually do, so looking at this one, we're gonna scrape the, plumbers hasn't been here yet, but what I'll do right now is I'll take the topsoil, scrape all that, throw that in a separate pile, and then while we're waiting, we'll get these lids off, and then we will try to find that pipe, try to find this pipe. There's always something that you can usually do. And then if plumber still isn't here, then we'll start digging the hole. But the other thing to think through is always your pipe, your tank layout. So right now, edge of the tank should be right here, and the pipe's going to be underneath this deck a little bit. So it's 1, 2, and then there's a diverter valve supposedly somewhere over there. It goes way back to a drain field, and another drain field's here. So we got to try to get connected to this pipe and that pipe. So our goal is we're going to put a tank this way. So we'll come in this side, we'll go out that side, in that side on the next tank, and then that puts us perfectly over here to set, or to connect to that, there's supposed to be a diverter valve, we're going to look for that here in a second, but to connect into that drain field pipe. So it's, and then sometimes if you don't have space, you have to rip out the tanks, haul those away, put the tanks in the exact same spot. But we've done it a couple times where we think we have the layout right, but we forgot, or not forgot, but just didn't think through where the outlet side of the tank would be, and now you have a longer run. So you can set the tanks up either way. The biggest thing, like in our counties, you're not allowed ever to come in on this side and go out on the same side. You have to always exit. Doesn't matter what side of the far side, but you can't exit on the same side of the tank. So if this is a tank, you can't come in here and leave here, or leave here. You have to come in here, and you can leave any side of that tank or any side of this tank. You can come in, but you just can't have them, they have to be on opposite ends of the tank. So we're gonna get going on figuring this one out. Okay, those guys got the tanks opened. Make sure my zipper's up on my pocket. But they put the risers on the wrong side again. It's on the inlet. You can see the pipe right there. So that hole that I thought was going to be on the outside of the tank is actually the center of the tank, probably collapsing in. So, and they did the, that's what's messing us up. So this one is on the outlet, that one's on the inlet. So no big deal, just means our tank's out there further. And we'll still try to find that diverter valve.
Mine only needs to be about that tall though.
Yeah. and do what we can to save this riser extension. Kind of like that right there. We'll bury the tanks, but I don't like burying. I don't ever bury trash. Can't stand it. We always got a trash bag ready to go, so we'll do the same thing with this one. That tank was, I haven't seen one of those in a while. It's been last fall. That tank was so soft that it just fell right in. Hey Calvin, we know no matter what, we're going to be at least a foot deep. So if you want to put risers on while you're waiting on the outlets, that'll at least be done. We're going to tip that over. A ton of water in it. Spraying. We'll let that drain out so it's not so heavy for you. Oh, thanks, Calvin. Yep.
Put Kenny in one of those later and roll him across the yard. Is that threat or promise? Don't tempt me with a good time.
Biggest thing, you see that tank's just collapsing. We usually just break the walls in. This is again where this end con is just freaking lifesaver. You can see, I mean, I've dug this whole thing so far without moving the excavator. You can typically almost, once you kind of get set, you can pretty much dig an entire tank, put them in, and not ever move the excavator. Normally, you know, just even this, you can't sit across from the tank. But this is, just real quick, this is kind of like a clay and a sand mixed, which I don't like putting poly tanks in, but the reason we did poly on this one is they have a wedding here backyard in a couple months for the reception, I think. So we're trying to limit it. Oh my gosh. So every once in a while, Kelvin acts like our new guy. And yeah.
You gotta bring the humor.
So normally what you're trying to do with these tanks is just try to break them as much as you possibly can. The smaller the better. See, these are what you don't want. See if I can get that out of here. That's the worst thing you can have. So hopefully I'll go check that, make sure it flipped up. But a lot of times you can get those corners and they fall down in there, and when they fall they have that cavity that's kind of protected if it's upside down. that makes any sense at all. Let me go check that real quick. Okay, so it did fall right. But what'll happen sometimes, you get that corner, and then that has that big empty air cavity underneath there, and you go to backfill this, and you think, oh, I got that backfilled nice. But there's a 1 foot gap in here that, I'm gonna move this real quick. You gotta get just a little closer than what I thought I was gonna have to. You have to reach over for that, find that pipe. But anyway, you end up with this cavity, and then you'll get a customer that'll call. You'll get a customer that'll call 6 months from now. The rain, a couple good rains, and you'll have a big hole. Kind of have like a 6-inch little sinkhole. So I just broke my one rule. Normally we try to get it to where we can see the pipe. I wish this GoPro would zoom in a little bit more, but I like it where you can see the pipe, and then we usually cut it. But the way that thing broke, is you can tell it's actually broke outside the pipe, and it was probably a separate piece. So I'm going to go ahead, dig back here just a little bit further, and then what we always do is we always try to do is expose it where we can see the pipe, see what side it's coming in on, and then this is again where this thing went. I don't want to keep interrupting myself, but so like right here, right there, boom, there's a lid that's stuck there. Now it's not. Lid's broke, completely safe. You get right in where you need it. Like I said, I used to do it obviously without an Incon, but I just don't know why you'd ever do it. So I'm going to try to get this concrete out of here. Yeah, I'll show you. That was right on the fitting being right there. So the thing that sucks is if you just go crazy on the inlet, the first tank, on that inlet pipe, if you go crazy on that, you end up breaking the pipe that's coming from the house. And the problem is you might not know it. So you shatter that pipe, or you break it, you connect into it, put the new tank in, and what you don't realize is the pipes actually broke further up the line. So we've kind of made it a rule to always try to get that top of that lid off. Normally we would have already dug this, but the tank's kind of underneath the deck. Tank's underneath the deck, and we're just going to try to scrape it and find it. But so the only other thing now is, depending on your angle and where you can connect that pipe, you've got to break the sidewall of the concrete tank, because otherwise you won't be able to get the, yeah, right there, you won't be able to get the pipe. Normally we'll put like a 45 on it. In all of our counties, at least that's consistent. You're not allowed to have a 90. You're not allowed to have a 90 anywhere before the tanks. So you're allowed to have two 45s, but you're not allowed to have a 90. That might sound weird, but that's because you ever have to snake it. It's pretty hard for a snake to do the straight or just a true 90, but it can definitely make it around 45s. So there's that pipe. Sweet, it's got a 22, so it's on a little bit of an angle. So I'll kind of show you what we're going to do here. Okay, I just figured I'd show this. I just cut this, make a nice clean cut. And I was just showing the guys that I think this actually wasn't really put in right. So you can see all the buildup. That's just like fatty grease. But this is the bottom corner. You're not probably gonna be able to see it, but this is the rounded edge where the pipe would go in. But this is probably 3 inches lower. So I think they actually set the tank too high, and then that 22 kind of pushed it up in there. So it would flow, but then eventually it would fill up and push. So yeah, you can see all the fat build up inside that. So this is the piece of concrete that I was talking about. You got to get out of the way. If I went to put another piece on, I'd be hitting that. So what I usually do, if there's no one in the hole, put the shovel there, reach up to the shovel, pull this back. And now it's kind of nice because now we kind of got our idea here. We're going to shoot, we're going to come in straight kind of right here and put a 45, and we're going to set the tank right here like we talked about earlier. So the only thing that stinks is this is it's like a beautiful sand and then a clay, but I personally don't like putting poly tanks in clay unless we've got sand. We'll usually truck in sand, but we didn't for this one because we're trying to save their yard. So we'll just dig it a little bit bigger, wider, so when we backfill it compacts right. Okay, so one of our little tricks, especially if you're new, is we set the tanks up kind of how they're going to go into the ground. So they're going in the ground like this. We're going into this side of the tank. So as I'm digging now, they can get everything set up and there's no chance of them hopefully drilling the wrong hole. So we're going to go in here. Infiltrator has that little mark. That's where you put your drill bit. And then you come over here to the outlet. And then it's down here, which is 3 inches lower. So that's where we are going to come up an inch and then save an inch on each tank. And then same thing, 52. So we're going to run a pipe from here to there, and then we're going to come out on that. We're actually going to come out on this corner, on this side, so it'll come right out to where that drain field pipe is that I just found. So and then Calvin just came up with we've never done that before, but good idea, nice job. So that's probably the best, that's a great idea. Put the grommets wherever you're going to drill, so that way you don't, we've had it before where you just get talking and you drill the wrong hole, then you got to go buy another grommet, you got to shove a pipe in there, and you got to put a cap on it, which is not what we like to do. So only had it happen twice, I think, in 5 years. But all right, I'm gonna start digging. They're gonna get this ready. Just hurry up and spin it for me. I'll see if I can drop it in before it, can you reach it? Slide it towards Kenny, will you? It's got to go that way about 10 inches. To Kenny. Right about there, I think. There we go. Well, hopefully it's level.
It's like a quarter bubble high on this end.
Okay, that'll be all right if it's a 1/4 inch. Don't forget to do that. You want to pull that lid, set it where the straps are.
About a 1/4 inch low on this side.
So I'll lift it a little bit, just you push it, yep. Ready? Okay. Let's unhook that strap and then, well, leave the strap. Let's make sure we got our fall.
Definitely fall.
Well, you're not where the pipe's at though, Kenny. We're gonna have to put like a 45 or something. That should be broke, but
Let me see your stroke. I guess I thought you had this dug to that already.
well, it was. Oh, that was kind of nice. A little piece of rebar held it. Okay, so our first tank's in, it's level. What we're gonna do now, Infiltrator, I don't know if they changed something, but what we do now is we put the first scoop of dirt right in the center. So that holds it. We never used to have to do that, but when you backfill, every once in a while you'd kind of get this. You'd kind of get the tank to squeeze a little bit, and then those risers and the lids never quite sat right. So they say they're not bendable, they say they don't twist, they do. So let's put it in level, pack it right, and just take your time with it, and you won't have any issues. But if you rush something, especially like in this clay job we got here, if you have a big chunk of clay or something fall in, it can tweak that tank just enough to where those risers don't sit just perfectly on top of that. So we've got the snap ring risers on here. It's 1 foot. We're actually going to add a whole nother foot on that because we're probably about 2.5 to 3 feet deep, but the customer wants them buried about 4 to 6 inches. So we're gonna put another foot one on there and then see where we come up. But we screw that lid on. We're gonna now just start taking dirt, take our time. And this is kind of a clay, sand, loam mixture. So we're gonna just do the way they talk about. You're gonna go around each corner and just kind of keep packing. So I'm gonna throw some fresh dirt in there. We're gonna start packing it basically just with our feet, and that's usually good enough. And we've got water going in on this side, so that's one of our other things, is I really like to have water in it, weighing it down.
What's up, guys? This is Travis's son Brock. I'm editing the video, and here's Kenny and Calvin and my dad. They uncovered the tanks for plumbers. As you can see, he's pumping the first tank. As he's pumping the first tank, the guys are trying to figure out where the outlet is on the next, and that's when they realized that the cover is actually on the inlet instead of the outlet for the second tank, which wasn't what they thought it was. So now they have to try and figure out where the pipe is. Right here, he's pumping the tanks, so then my dad can collapse them. My dad wasn't intending to collapse them right here when he was scraping it, but they were so weak that he touched it and it collapsed onto the guy's tube that was pumping the tank, and they got it out, and now they are checking to make sure everything's good to collapse them. My dad wanted to save these risers right here, which he does a good job of doing. Calvin also helps out there, and he's scraping right here. As you can see, he collapses that corner of the tank, which he gets out of his excavator to go look because sometimes it creates an air pocket in there and that will collapse later. So my dad does a good job of noticing, and I believe he fixes on a different video with his GoPro. Now he's talking to Kenny and Calvin so they can get the tanks ready before he gets the hole ready for them to put in. Right now he's getting a little bit of room dug for the second tank. That's where the second tank's going to go. And then he's going to dig out the first tank. As you can see, he's talking in the excavator. This is another GoPro video that he has that I might put in. Now they're trying to get the laser to get everything level and to grade. And that's it for right there. Alright, I'm back with another point of interest right here. So the Encon's really nice with getting grade because he actually has a thing in there to make sure that when he slides it, it tells him if he's high or low and what he needs and if it's level. So he gets it level. Kenny and Calvin help hook up the tank and they slide it over. Now they're working on putting the pipe from the house to the tanks. This is where they had a little bit of a struggle because the tank connecting from the house was a different size than they thought. And he actually records a couple of videos right here connecting these pipes. And after he connects the pipes and they get everything set inside the tank, you can see it right after this. They start to cover the tank and make sure it doesn't move around because especially with clay and sand, this clay absorbed a lot of moisture. As you can see, there's a ton of chunks in that hill. The water will kind of rise a little bit and that'll make it either unlevel or it will start to raise it, and then that kind of messes with the level and everything. So yep, there's that point of interest. I'm back with another point of interest. Here's Calvin, my sweetheart. He's being the cameraman he is. As you can see, he set this in a gorgeous spot. It's actually a really good angle, to be honest. And this is them doing pretty much the same thing they did with the first tank. They're just getting grade and level, a little bit lower than the first one. And as you can see, Kenny's in there making sure everything's level. And then my dad's just going to flatten it out. And then they'll go hook up the second tank, which I believe they're doing a second here. And then they set it down in there. And the second tank is already ready. You can see it in the background. It already has the riser on. It has the PVC in the side, which connects to the second tank, or the first tank, sorry. Connects to the first tank. And then there will be another pipe that connects to the drain field. Right here, you can see they just hooked it up. They're in there making sure everything's level. Oh, that wall's about to collapse, I think. My dad can get that in there fast enough. Or he's going to go, there he goes. Okay. Yep, he gets it in there. They get it level. And then I believe they start to cover it right after. They just get everything connected, and then, yep, that's my second point of interest. I'm back again. I just want to talk over this quick point. Here's the inspector. She's just making sure everything's right. She has the permit. She has everything. My dad actually told me this lady was really nice. I think this was one of our first times working with her. So she did an amazing job. We were good to go. All we have to do now is cover the tank and make it look pretty, because I believe the customers wanted our best to not ruin their yard because they had a wedding after, which is going to be amazing for, because we actually have our hydro seeder Mitch, who's going to come and cover it when we're done, and it's going to look good. And yep, that's it. Okay, so this should be my last time talking, if you're a little bit annoyed at my voice, but here they are. They're setting up the clean out right now, I believe. They got everything connected to the drain field pipe, so everything, right now, technically, everything is working. My dad is putting water in the tank to make sure it doesn't rise or move around when they leave. As you can see the clean out cap right there. That's where, if anything goes wrong, you can do a quick little check in there, run water through there, make sure everything's working in the drain field. Here they are getting the lid screwed on. I believe the first lid's already screwed on. Now it's just the Trex back to the trailer with everything, which my dad started a little bit ago, which you could have seen him. Now he's just covering everything. Calvin's still in there to make sure that the clean out doesn't get bent or broken, which he does a good job of, keeping the lid uncovered. I believe they cover it in the end a little bit, but you can still tell where it is. Now they're just going to do their best to flatten everything out and make sure it all looks good. Oh, which he does an amazing job of there. You see he doesn't even touch the grass somehow. Talent. Now he's just got to press into it, because with wet clay how it is, it sinks, so they might have to come back and cover it a little bit more, but it should be good. This is not the final product. It actually looks really good in the end. They'll come through with a skid steer, grade it, and then they'll come through with, oh, here they are grading, and then the other machine is called, oh my gosh, I can't think of it. The other machine, you can see it in the right corner of the screen. It runs through and gets rid of all the chunks and makes it look pretty good. So here's Calvin doing an amazing job. And yep, that's the last time I'm talking.
Okay, we got this one all wrapped up. So you can see, maybe, it's kind of rutted through here. It's just really soft clay. Little wet from the rain yesterday, so if it doesn't turn out well, we will come back and just refluff this all up before hydro seed comes in. So you know, you can only do as good as what you're working with, but it's rolled out really good here, but the clay is just real soft right through here, and you can kind of dip down a little bit. So we'll let it dry, we'll come back, and then you can kind of see how we did the entrance here. So we were able to sneak in out of here without really a whole lot of damage, which is always one of the main goals. So we've got trailer loaded up, excavators loaded. They're grabbing the flags right now, and hopefully we can have a nice safe trip back to the shop. So yeah, we got the road swept, all cleaned up. Of course, got our sign out, and then Kelvin's got the skid steer and everything loaded up there. So worked out well today. So we're gonna get back. The only thing we gotta do when we get back is set our bucket up. Our bucket's off just a little bit, as in the geometry of it. So we're gonna figure that out. We're gonna tighten the tracks just a little bit and then call it a weekend.